Welcome, everyone. My name is Justin Reich. I'm the executive director of the Teaching Systems Lab here at MIT, and we're incredibly thrilled to have you all together for this kickoff live event for design thinking for leading and learning. It's an enormous group of people that brings together an enterprise like this to create a brand new online course. And so I just want to say thank you to all the many folks at MITx, in the Teaching Systems Lab at MIT, at edX, and our sponsors, Microsoft, who funded this whole initiative and gave us a ton of freedom to take it in whatever direction we wanted. It's an incredible honor to have all of you literally from all over the world here joining us to hang out for a little bit. We have Costa Rica, China, Argentina, Greece, Dubai, the Emirates, Mexico, what else? Saudi Arabia, Chile, Spain. Vladna is Belgian, but in France right now. Someone from Sri Lanka, someone from Boston, just over the river from MIT, someone from Portugal, from Hawaii, from Brazil. Incredible opportunity for us to have a global community of educators come together to try to have us learn more about what design thinking can look like in our classrooms and in our schools. Yeah, I would definitely invite people to introduce themselves, say where they're from. It's super fun for us to hear that people are from London and Austria and Germany and Florida and all these other kinds of places. So thanks so much for sharing where you're from. It's super exciting for all of us to see this is really a global community. My interest in design in a very serious way goes back about 5 years. So I was involved in an enterprise at the Harvard Graduate School of Education called the Future of Learning Institute. And I had this intuition that design was really going to play a central role in the future of learning. Wanted to experiment and play around with this. I had an incredible group of colleagues from India that we worked to co-design a design charrette, a learning experience in this week-long learning event that incorporated design thinking into these adult learning experiences for folks coming to Harvard for this conference. And just was this wonderful, powerful, optimistic approach to thinking about the challenges we face in teaching and learning, that so often the schools that we work in feel like they're fixed. They feel like they were handed to us and the way they are is the way they've been forever. But that's not true. Schools are designed. Human beings with values at various points in history decided that there would be blackboards in the front of the room, decided that the desks would be bolted to the chairs, decided that we would put kids of roughly one age in the same room. And they had values that informed those designs. And if we have different values now, then we can use those values to inform different designs. And what I love about a design-based approach to learning is that it invites hope and optimism for recognizing that the futures that we want to have can look very different from the present that we're in. The other sort of powerful influence in my life on design thinking is just starting here a couple of years ago and starting a lab at MIT, the Teaching Systems Lab, and just realizing how much design is central to the work that happens all across MIT. You're going to meet folks who are connected with the mechanical engineering department, with the Sloan School of Management, with the MIT Media Lab, with the Education Arcade, with the Teaching Systems Lab, with all kinds of places around MIT and schools around the area where design thinking is what we do every day. We wake up in the morning and we say, like, who are the users that we have to talk to today to better understand what we're building? What's the prototype that I have to ship by the end of the week so I can do some internal testing so I can iterate and improve on it? We don't do this because it's like an interesting exercise that keeps us busy. We do it because it's how we think the future is going to be built. It's how innovation and design-based research is done. And one of our aspirations is, as a group, to be able to take these kinds of novel practices and explore ways that they can find more of a home in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools and whatever other kinds of learning environments you all are from. We're thrilled that there are people from higher education. Somebody introduced themselves as affiliated with Bible school, with people who are working with adults and other kinds of ways. Wherever you're from, we're absolutely thrilled to have you here. There's going to be a whole team of folks who are supporting you. Liz Huttner-Lone is our senior manager for online courses, and she's done this many, many times, and we're thrilled to have her again helping captain our efforts. Alyssa Napier is a brilliant recent MIT grad who we are incredibly fortunate to be able to hire right back into our team, and you'll also see her incredible artwork spread throughout the course. Kevin Robinson is our, he is our sort of senior software developer and senior technical person, but he's also an incredible educator, an incredible teacher educator, and a person of very wide skills. And so he's helped us set up the forums, and we'll probably be involved in those kinds of things. Rachel Grubb is one of our video editors and video developers, and so many of the terrific case studies and stories and interviews that you'll see were processed by her, and we're thrilled that she's joining us in the forums as well. And we have two community TAs, Vladna and Brandon, and Vladna has been a community TA in many of our events over recent years, and we're thrilled to have her back. And Brandon is someone who we met in our Launching Innovation in Schools MOOC, which just wrapped up. It's facilitated run. You can still see all the materials now. We're just super lucky to have them in the forums, giving their insights, sharing their perspectives as practitioners and researchers. What I want to do with this chunk of time right here is just welcome you to the course, give you a couple of early insights about how we think things are progressing based on what we're seeing in the forums and the activities that people are participating in, and also give you a chance to ask questions of me and of the instructional team, and see how we can answer whatever questions you have or better shape the learning experience to serve you. We try to be pretty active on a couple of different forms of social media so that we engage with you. The forums are kind of the primary place for engaging in the course. And we encourage you to put your assignments there, to put your reactions to different videos, put questions that you have there. Feel free to make it a playful space. There's already been some people who have posted some fun GIFs as answers to things. Someone started a group about their hobby of cooking, and as a tangential thing, that's great too. We really hope that that you feel comfortable sharing there and talking about the kinds of things that you're doing. Feel free to share pictures from your work, share videos of your work. In the last class we just ran, there are a couple folks who are doing really cool stuff with little stop motion animation or other kinds of media to be able to share their thinking. So anytime we ask you to write something, you should also feel free to draw something or videotape yourself saying something or write something down on a note card and take a picture of it or express yourself however else you want to. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so we'll try to keep a close eye on the DTLL MOOC hashtag, and would encourage you to share your thoughts there, ping things there. A lot of people do their assignments by putting them in Google Docs or by putting them on blog posts or other things like that, and then sharing the links. And that's a great way to be able to share things in multiple different kinds of forums, to be able to share them. You produce one Google Doc, you post a link to it and a little summary in the forums, you tweet something out online, post something on our Facebook page. Those are all different ways that we can connect with each other in these kind of different media that we all track. Feel free to ask questions or throw things out. Obviously, there's about 9,000 people who are signed up for the course. Probably some more who will join in the next days. So if everybody emails me at the same time, I won't be able to get back. But eager to have you post in the forums and share your thoughts, and we can all try to respond to and answer from each other. We take very seriously the idea in all the work we do that we have so much to learn from Ed World. There's a certain kind of time and space that we have here at MIT to be able to develop some expertise, but we know that there's so much that we have to learn from all the terrific things that you all are doing, and we're already beginning to gain some new insights from you. So we're just thrilled to have this opportunity to share and learn from one another, and we take that really seriously. For all of you who've signed up in whatever format you have, we're thrilled that you're here. We particularly want to take the time to encourage you to think about taking this class with some group of colleagues. Any kind of change leadership effort, any kind of change initiative effort is always more likely to take root if you have a group of colleagues to work with, and you're always more likely to learn about trying new things and experimenting and iterating if you have some people to do it with. We encourage you to form a group that we call a learning circle. And the idea of learning circles is it's people from your schools or organizations who will be taking the course roughly at the same time. And you have some kind of schedule of checking in with each other to be able to learn from the experience. We've created a facilitator's guide for learning circles. And you don't have to have any kind of special power or special expertise or anything else to be able to run and lead a learning circle. You just have to have the initiative to want to bring some people together to learn together with you. So anybody can be a facilitator of a learning circle. Doesn't require any sort of special position in the hierarchy of schools. It just requires bringing people together to want to learn together. You can use as much or as little of the facilitator's guide as suits you. And we just want to encourage everyone to find, to the extent that you can, find ways to connect with other people in your schools and do these things together. If it turns out that you're just taking the course alone at 10 p.m. at home in your pajamas, we totally welcome you as well. No matter how else no matter how you're engaging the course, we're thrilled to have you. But we do want to make this recommendation that people take the course in groups if they can, and if they can't, then the course community that you find online in the forums can be that group for you. Question here about how many people in the group typically, and I think that's a great question. It probably whatever works for you. I think what we're hearing, and we haven't sort of looked at this systematically, but the kind of like 3, 4, 5, 6 range seems to be pretty good. The kind of group that would feel comfortable sitting around a laptop if you wanted to watch something together, the kind of group that would feel like you'd be able to share with one another. There's a group of folks who just emailed us that they were planning on doing something a little larger, 10 or 12 or 15, and actually do it in sort of a more formal way on the weekends and make some snacks available to people and that kind of thing. And that's great too. There's all kinds of ways that I think group size can work. But if you were to say to me, Justin, choose the platonic ideal group size, I would probably say 5 plus or minus 2. But whatever it is, whatever you come up with, where if it's one other person, that's great too. That's great too. So here are a few specific things that we're seeing, and then we'll open it up for whatever other questions folks have. One is there's one piece of the course that's missing. That's our fault, and that's the pre-course survey. So at some point in the next couple of days, we're going to send you an email encouraging you to take the pre-course survey. So please do so. It's super helpful for us to get a sense of where people are coming from. So that would be terrifically helpful. We got a question here from Ari, which is, if I'm not an educator, does it make sense for me to take this course? What I'll say to that is we're thrilled to have anybody who wants to participate in the course. The course is designed for educators. When Microsoft came to us, they actually specifically said, we want the courses that you're developing targeted at school leaders. And for us, we think about leadership in a really capacious way. So we think that teachers are leaders, and librarians are leaders, and coaches are leaders, and superintendents are leaders, and department heads are leaders. Leaders isn't the role that you're assigned in the school. It's the functions that you carry out. Anybody who's bringing people together to try to improve teaching and learning for students, that's what leadership in schools looks like for us. Parts of the course are very much focused on what design thinking looks like inside the classroom, or inside the library, or inside student-facing learning spaces. And then part of the course is really about how we as adults in a community think about using teaching and learning to share our ideas. So I think if you're taking this course to learn design thinking to apply to industrial design, like my best friend runs a box factory in Winchendon, Massachusetts, and I probably wouldn't, there's probably other design thinking classes that would be good for figuring out box design. Yeah, if you have some connection to education, or even sort of building human capacity. We know that there are people who are in medical schools or in higher education or other places interested in taking this course. If you're interested in taking this course to use design thinking to think about how your team of sales reps could be doing designing better things, like that could probably work as well. Alejandro asks a great question, which is, what are the main barriers that prevent innovation from fully entering public classrooms? And maybe I'll jump into that before I tackle some of the other things that were on the list, because I think that's a great question. There are all kinds of barriers to innovation. In the places where people make the most progress in changing schools, they start making change even in the presence of those barriers. So part of what makes barriers fall is when you make progress towards your goal, even in the presence of those barriers. So for instance, many of you who are going to try to do things with design thinking in schools, one of the main things that's going to be a challenge is your schedule. If you're in one of those schools where every class period is 43 minutes long and there's 6.5 minutes of passing time in between each class and people are racing and so forth, it's really challenging to fit the kinds of things we're talking about into 43 minutes. But the only way a school system is going to start thinking about how do we accommodate block schedules or other longer periods of time is if they see some successes that people are having with things like design thinking that call for different kinds of changes. Another barrier to innovation that we hope this course can help people get past is the sense that there's only certain people in a school system who are responsible for innovation. That like superintendents and principals say what the innovation is supposed to be, and nobody else is responsible for that. And that's not the way we think about innovation at all. Teachers play a vital role in bringing innovation into schools. Librarians play a vital role. Technology coaches play a vital role. And so I hope that one of the things that we can encourage you to do in this class is to do your best to think about how can you, in whatever sphere of influence you have, try some new ideas, make some changes, and share those things with others. Because in some extent, some of the barriers that we face are just our own uncertainty about who's responsible for making progress. In the schools that have made some of the most exciting progress over the last few years, one of their characteristics is that people within them at all levels feel empowered to help make some of those changes. Let me do 3 things that I wanted to just focus on in terms of some of the assignments that people are working on, and then I'll jump in and answer some of the other questions that are here, which are really great. So the core activity that we're going to do together to learn about our view of the design thinking cycle is you choosing one of a series of exercises that I would call sort of a toy project. And what I mean by a toy project is that most of what we want to spend our time doing with design thinking is to solve problems that urgently compel our attention. We're going to put our best effort forwards on the things that we care most about. And we've asked you to work on a project that's tangential, perhaps, to the core concerns in your life. I mean, maybe planning a party is like the main thing that you need to be solving right now, but for most of you, it's probably not. The great thing about toy projects is that they give us a playful space to experiment with some of these ideas, to feel really comfortable failing and messing things up and those kinds of things, which is just central to the learning process here. And so we encourage you, the other thing about toy projects is they end up being pretty useful actually in lots of different contexts for introducing design thinking. So if you came to MIT for a face-to-face workshop for a few days at the Edgerton Center, one of these toy projects might be the kind of thing that we would use to introduce design thinking to a group of students or to a group of educators. So we're trying to model some of the practices that we think are effective in getting people instantiated in design thinking. A few folks have started like skipping the toy project phase and sort of jumping into something that's more professionally relevant to them. And that's fine if people want to do that, but also want to let folks know that in Unit 2 and Unit 3 is when we're going to apply the design thinking problem to our challenges as classroom teachers and our challenges as school leaders. What we want to do right now to start is have a playful opportunity for exploring some of these spaces. Some of you have gotten to step 2 about conducting user interviews. And one of the most important disciplines for us to develop as designers is to really try to set our assumptions aside, set our pre-existing ideas aside, and really try to discover in an authentic way the challenges that we're coming up against. One of the most powerful tools in doing that is around empathy. Really trying to let go of our own perspective and to deeply understand how other people experience things. And so as you're designing your interviews, as you're trying to think about planning an event or writing a recipe, it's less about figuring out the logistics for the event or the steps in the recipe or what ingredients. If you're going to interview someone about a meal, really try to understand their relationship to food. Not just in that moment, not just what we want to dinner, but like, tell me about what you think about food. Tell me about a meal that you had that was really special to you. Tell me about 3 or 4 other meals like that, and can we find any themes across them? Don't just ask, what do you want in the party, but have you describe some of the ways you felt when you've been to events that have felt really special? What are particular moments from really special events that you can remember? Drilling into those specific stories and perspectives are going to allow you to find some patterns to abstract from those specific details into some larger themes. We have one post that we loved about this. Let me see if I can share my screen here and just show you one of these pieces. So this is a great piece of work from Carol Clark, who was interviewing her teenager. And some of this is kind of silly, but I want to get past the silliness to some really great work that's happening here. Turning 13 is like being in a bubble, somewhere between being a child and growing to be a woman. Hormones flood the body. Puberty is at its potential. The 2 C's, chilling and chatting, are most important at this age, it seems. All former birthday party formats suddenly seem to be obsolete, and a new format has not shown itself. So the challenge will be to design this new format for a great and unforgettable 13th birthday party for my daughter. What's happening there is that you're starting to see that out of this interview, she's pulling out some sort of essential themes for people's experiences when they're young people, that she's figured out, if you talk enough to kids and recognize sort of how powerful chilling and chatting are, those are sort of broader themes that are connected to specific kinds of stories. She's got this great recognition that there's a sort of moment of disjunction here, that it's really, that what you've been doing for the last 12 years, which was pretty fun at the time, isn't going to work anymore. And part of what you need is a sense of newness to that. None of those tell you exactly what to do. It's not clear what a party about chilling and chatting looks like. It's not clear what a brand new party looks like, but they're tools that you can use. Now that we understand this young woman better, we can be more thoughtful about how we design for her. And that's just a great example of beginning to empathize with people, understand their perspectives, and see what we can do to be of service to them, which is exactly the same kinds of things that we'll be doing when we think about these things in terms of our learners. And the last maybe caution to offer you as you dive into this work is you want to, as long as possible, try not to jump to the solution to the problem. Try not to work backwards from what you think should happen, but start in the place of understanding where your problem is at, where your challenge is at, where the user who's going to interface with your artifact or experience is at. It's really, really easy in this work to hear the problem for the first, oh, I know it would be a great party, we should go bowling, and then listen to people and hear how what they would like is bowling and decide all the things you're going to do to make the bowling party fun. But it's really easy to miss that actually, if you listen deeply to the person, like, they don't want to go bowling. What they want is something else that bowling can't offer, and you've foreclosed in your mind those possibilities. Sometimes it can be really helpful to sort of, if you're stuck on some of those ideas, to symbolically write them down, or to actually say, okay, I'm completely stuck on this idea right now, so I'm going to actually just take 15 minutes and sketch out what that idea would be, free my mind from that, release myself from that, and then step back into a more open-ended mindset. So let me look again at some of the other questions that have popped up in the thread, and I know that Liz and Alyssa are out here being awesome and helping us respond to some of these things. One set of questions that came up are about, to what extent is our approach to design thinking similar to the Stanford D School's approach to design thinking? And that's a great question. The Stanford D School has done some amazing work, not only doing advances in design, but really making those insights accessible to a broad group of people. I think one of the things that we see at MIT is that design thinking is not one thing. Design thinking is not one set of steps. And I hope that as you join us in listening to these interviews with some of the different folks from across MIT who are working on these challenges, you'll see that not only is the language that they use to approach design different, but as they face different kinds of design challenges, they really do so in sort of authentically different ways, even if they the kinds of approaches they have to design have some fundamental concepts in common, like the idea of innovation through iteration, or other things like that. So hopefully, what you'll see in our course, I mean, maybe two particular changes. First of all, the language we've chosen, we really feel like is geared towards kids. So for instance, one of the words that we kind of shy away from is test. It turns out that kids in school have a lot of baggage around the word test. Rather than invoke that baggage, we use the word try in describing our cycle, which we feel like just means sort of similar things, but has a little bit less of that. I would say the other sort of key feature is that, we really don't want you to think that the design cycle that we're going to show you is the design cycle. Rather, it's one abstraction that we've come up with that we think is useful for this course. But one of the main things that we want you to see is that there's lots of ways of doing this. Hopefully, as you all get towards the interview that we did with Mitch Resnick at the Lifelong Kindergarten Lab, you'll hear him talk about the creative learning spiral, which again, the spiral shape is very similar to our cycles. There's lots of features that are similar. But for instance, for him, he really wants to anchor new ideas around imagination. Which is different than starting around empathy or different than starting around discovery. It's what pops into your head as you're exploring this space. He also very deliberately, in the sort of prototyping try kind of phrase, he describes that as play. It's really important to him with the students and the adults that he's working with that they bring a playful approach to these kinds of prototyping and testing things, which is different than maybe other groups. Mechanical engineers might really feel like they're bringing a very scientific approach to the measurement of tolerances in their prototypes and things like that. So I hope that's one thing that you could say, if there's a distinctive MIT approach to design, it's that there's no one approach to design, that we design as a family of ideas, a family of approaches and skills and mindsets that we flexibly adopt to different kinds of proposals. And I'm sure Stanford would agree with that as well. So hopefully, if you've done other kinds of things with other groups that are doing design thinking, we'd love to hear what you think about parallels, hear what you think about strengths and weaknesses of different approaches. And so that would be really great. So that was a really good question about design thinking. Let me see if there's other kinds of questions that are here that are going on. Pearl likes the whiteboard wall behind me, which I certainly appreciate as well. I think those notes on the back are from the last course that we were working on about launching innovation in schools. So I probably should have updated it for the cycle for this course here. I should have gotten Alyssa to come and update it because her artistic skills are really great. Good. What are some of the other questions that people popped up? One question that I thought was great from Florencia was about budgets and about cost. And I hope that one of the things that you take away from this is that design thinking is not about going out and buying the most expensive 3D printer on the market, or about buying lots of materials or stuff or things like that. Now, it turns out that objects are helpful to think with. One of the great insights from one of MIT's most famous faculty who passed away this last year, Seymour Papert, who wrote the logo programming language and many other incredible thoughts and tools for thinking. He talked about objects to think with as a really important part of his pedagogy of constructionism. And so it turns out that in the design thinking process, markers are great and Post-it notes are great, and whiteboards are great, chalk is great. But what's not essential is like expensive power drills or 3D printers or CAD programs, other things like that. The heart of what I think we're sharing here is an approach to innovation, which says innovation happens through iteration. It happens in particular, there's something powerful about not trying to have the perfect idea, but trying to really understand a challenge in a deep way, and then trying to solve that problem, not by coming up with the perfect solution on the first pass, but thinking about what's the minimal prototype that I could devise to learn something that helps me advance in this challenge? What's the smallest thing that I could build that I can put in front of another person and have an authentic interaction with that person that teaches me something about how I iterate towards that solution? And especially as we get into Unit 2 and Unit 3, you're going to hear some awesome stories from some incredible adults who are doing that work, from some super cute kids who are piloting design thinking approaches to creating new curriculum materials. There are fifth graders who are doing this with their junior kindergarten partners. It's really, hopefully the ideas we have are not about cost. They're about mindset, and they're about taking the resources that we have around us and using them in hopeful and optimistic ways to imagine new kinds of futures and new kinds of solutions to problems. Let's see. Fabio asked the questions about the importance of the certificate for our lives and our projects. The certificate's not important for our project. You're totally free to participate in the course however you want to with a certificate or not. In some contexts, it may be that a certificate is a good way to signal to different folks in your ecosystem that these things are useful. If you buy a certificate, part of the work goes directly to us. It helps fund ongoing improvements to the course. It helps fund ongoing work that we can do with educators. So we're certainly super happy to have people pay for verified certificates, and we get a part of that. But it's not essential. In fact, we created this course. It's going to be, for an extended period of time, freely available to folks. All of the videos in the course are linked to unlisted YouTube pages. So even if someone's not logged into the course, you can share the videos with other people, and we encourage you to do so. Part of what we want to do with the facilitator's guide is all of you in your schools might say, wow, I'm having a really great learning experience here, and I probably couldn't get some of my faculty or my head of school to do the whole thing, but I'd love her to watch 2 of these videos. And we want to make that possible as well. Here, wow, there are some great questions that are popping up now. Gabriella asks us about course evaluation. And the key piece is actually, evaluation isn't even really the right word for what we're going to ask you to do. For all your assignments, we're going to ask you to connect with peers to both give and receive some feedback about what other people are doing. And then we're going to ask you to report on, in an honor system way, your completion through different parts of the course. And Alyssa or Liz can post in the thread there what the right page is to look at for the requirements for finishing the course. But your peers are going to give you some feedback, and we're really going to grant you a certificate based on your feedback from peers improving what you're working on, and then your honor system that you've done the pieces of the course that we've asked you to complete. And then at the end of the course, you can also apply to get a badge that shows up in the Microsoft Innovator Educator Network that you can use to recognize your work as well, which is great. 3 tips for first-time MOOCers or lessons learned from previous sessions. Open up your calendar right now, and every week carve out a time that you're going to work on this that you're not allowed to change. Hold that time. It's probably more important to do that than it is to stay on track. If you sort of fall behind week to week, that's fine. Like if you don't get as much done in that session as you wanted to, that's okay. Hold the time to be able to do the work. Make some concrete plans for yourself right now. I commit to carving out Thursday evening after my kids get to bed. I commit to carving out my Tuesday prep period. I'm going to wake up early on Sunday morning, whatever it is. Try to find those times throughout your schedule to be able to do that. That's one. Find people to do it with. That's probably the second one that I would give you. You're more likely to persist in the course with mutual accountability. If you have friends, colleagues, other people who you do it with, who some of these times that you carved out, you've scheduled to meet with one another, that's going to help you be held accountable. And then, my third tip for the MOOC is, it's a learning space that's it's voluntary and it's just for you. Be as playful, as courageous, as risk-taking, as innovative as you want to be, because there's no one who's formally grading your work and telling you whether you did things right or did it wrong. What we want you to do is to have a learning experience that suits you. Maybe sort of related to that, as you look through the course materials, and we're going to give you some specific suggestions around this, do the course however works for you. If you totally want to dive deep into Unit 2 or Unit 3 and not do another one, that's great. Like however you want to learn in the course is best for you. Here's an embarrassing thing that's going to happen, which is that very soon I'm going to run out of power. So I'm going to reach down and I'm going to get a power cord. This is a little intimate moment with your MIT instructor. I have a PhD in education. Can't always remember to plug in my computer. But I can see that there's a little red bar that's not working. Plug myself in here. Oh, Kevin jumped in to help me. He was like, "Oh dear God, what if he's actually running out of power?" I had a power cord, I just hadn't plugged it in. And we're back. Thanks everyone. That was a special moment for all of us, I know, to have that experience together. Cleopatra asked, to what extent will you address opportunities for education and teaching reform? All of Unit 3 is really going to be about bringing the design thinking process to education reform and teaching reform. And we have some awesome folks from the BPS Experience Lab, the Boston Public Schools Experience Lab agency, who are working with the Boston school system to try to use design thinking to think about change. We have folks at the Benjamin Banneker School, at the Meadowbrook School, who are looking at school level, ways that design thinking is helping them change their school. We have this amazing doctoral student from Harvard, Amelia Peterson, who's doing really cool stuff with British Columbia with design thinking. We also have an another course called Launching Innovation in Schools. We just finished the facilitated run that has some even more about school change and education reform. Good. What are some other, can I speak a little bit slower? That is a great piece of advice. That is one of my weaknesses as a sort of native English speaking American instructor, is that I do talk awfully fast. When you watch the recorded videos, if you want to, you can set the videos to 0.75 speed, and then I'll talk slower for sure. The other thing that you can do is if you find that I speak too slowly when you're watching videos, we all now watch all the videos at 1.5 and 2x speed because we're used to hearing ourselves so often. So feel free to do that as well if you need to save some time, if you're trying to get all the work done during a prep period. What are some other great questions that people are asking? Books, apps, software, or other things on the design thinking journey. The main things that we use a lot are Post-it notes and whiteboards. If you can get access to Post-it notes and whiteboards, those are probably the two tools that we most frequently use to aid us in the design thinking process. We're going to have throughout every unit a bunch of suggested readings and other resources that are baked in the course to help you. If there was one app or piece of software that I would encourage you to use, and again, I'm going to give you the simplest one here, it would be the camera. Take pictures of all the things that you're doing. When you interview people, take pictures of where they're at. When you're thinking about a particular project, ask people to draw an experience they have or how they feel about things, take pictures of it. As you're documenting your solutions, take pictures of it and save all these pictures in a folder or a big Google document, or print them out and put them in a notebook. Making your thinking visible throughout the whole process is probably one of the best ways that you can use technology to help advance your learning in the course. Great. What other questions do folks have here? We're coming up on 40 minutes, which is a good amount of time for this introduction to one another. I think what I'll end up saying here is there's plenty more time for asking these questions and interacting with one another. If you have great insights or thoughts as you're going along, take pictures, post them on Facebook, post them in the forums, post them on Twitter. Andre asks if people can use the videos and add subtitles. You can also, YouTube does an okay job of adding automatic subtitles to these things. But yeah, feel free to take the transcripts and transcribe them for your colleagues to use. I mean, basically take the materials and use them however are going to help the people in your communities learn best. Our main objective here is helping people understand that design thinking is central to the work that we do here every day at MIT. I would love for your students to get admitted to MIT, and I would love to hire one of them as a UROP, as an undergraduate research opportunity program. And I would love them to get started equipped with some of the skills they need to thrive in our design-based research lab. And so really hope that what we can do in this course is empower you to help your students wherever they're going to end up in life, to be able to use some of the tools and skills that'll help them take on all the challenges that we need them to take on to create a more just and more peaceful and more sustainable world. So we're thrilled and so grateful that people from all over the world could be with us here this afternoon. If you have further questions, put them in the forums. We can stick around a little bit in the chat window and keep typing away with you. Otherwise, I hope folks, wherever you are in the world, whether you're just waking up or just going to bed, or just getting ready to go home from school at the end of the afternoon, we're thrilled that you could spend some time with us, thrilled that we're together in this course, and hope that you all have a wonderful next chunk of time, evening or morning. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you online in the course. Bye-bye.